Justin Poulin and Suzi Collins back with you for another video, and we are going to be talking today about some best practices in onboarding new staff, and maybe specifically management, but not entirely, just because you're about to do this, Suzi. And we've got a formal sort of orientation at every healthcare organization that we go through, and there may be some training materials, but what we really want to talk about today are some best practices and maybe the stuff that's not in your standard structure for onboarding. So Suzi, welcome back. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Justin. I am too. It is exciting. I have a new manager starting on Monday, and like you said, he's going to go through the traditional orientation on Monday to learn about the organization, and then I get to take over. And it's such a difficult thing sometimes to go between. You have to learn all of the systems, and we've got to get your email and all of that, coupled with how do I help you understand, one, my expectations, but also the pulse of the department. What are the things that are most important to us? How do we serve our customers? What are my primary goals? What are the KPIs that we're going to look at? And getting all of that through in, quite honestly, a very short period of time, because you also want to set them free, right? So I've been working on a different style of document, partly because we're on a new ERP system. So I literally still have people learning the caveats of that. And how do I really share with him the vision of where we're headed in 2024? Because I feel like last year, so much of the time was built, everything we focused on was about the ERP change. Now I want to get back to
you want to leverage that
proactive
data and do something strategic with it.
Right.
100%.
Exactly. So it's going to be, I'm kind of excited to see how I can kind of share this information as we move forward next week with getting him integrated into the department.
That's really important.
It's an exciting time.
Because your goals for the department, your strategic vision for maybe a calendar year is not going to be the same year over year. They may be similar concepts. They may have the same higher level picture. I mean, getting somebody indoctrinated sort of into the culture of the department is something that, to an extent happens organically, just as they're interfacing with coworkers or people that they're going to be leading in their role, and they're learning about it. But the culture and how it ties into that strategic vision that's going to be coming up. And you may be hiring somebody into a management role where they already have experience. So that's different than hiring someone into their very first sort of materials management role, or working in the loading dock, et cetera. It's very different than with management because you've got kind of a base set understanding, but trying to align that so that their early work is aligned with how you're measuring your department's performance is critical. Do you feel like there's a lot of opportunity for that to get misconstrued, like competing priorities and expectations and needs that start to filter in? Like, how often should you be connecting with somebody on those strategic goals, even after you start to work with them, and having kind of some comprehension around that?
Well, I think it's actually a monthly check-in. I mean, for me, I do weekly meetings with my managers, but I think strategically speaking, if we're not touching base monthly, I think it's really easy to get complacent. And I think it's very easy to lose sight of what our goals are. And again, when you're spending time preparing for an ERP conversion, it's so easy to get distracted. And I admit last year, there were a lot of distractions. So wanting to move forward with a fresh start in 2024 and get back to, I've kind of said it, I want to get back to some of the basics. I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure the system has a solid foundation. So like one of the things I'm doing this week is basically touching almost everything in his inventory to ensure our numbers are right. are there things we need to change? Making sure that we're aligned with our primary distribution partner, giving him the tools to understand our customers' needs. Because again, he's going to have 2 sites. One is behavioral health, one is acute care. So 2 very different settings.
Yeah.
Totally different, right? What are our customers' needs? And then what's the process? Because I also know that new vendors will come to him, staff will come to him, maybe asking questions. What's the process of how do I empower him to make his own decisions, but also know what are the limitations of our GPO affiliation? What is our process for new vendors? All of those things. So really putting something more comprehensive to get together so that we can get through everything in a short period of time. And I can feel like I've left him the map for success.
Yeah. Well, I like that, in terms of the guardrails, right? Because again, everybody's coming, from other organizations, if they do have prior experience with different guardrails. And I would say not just knowing what those are, but also who are the resources to answer those questions, right? Because, typically when you're filling an open position like that, especially a management one, guess who's been covering down on that vacancy until they show up? That's right. You're the one that has to do that. And so the goal is for things to come off of your plate. But then when somebody starts, a lot of times the only person they know and often feel comfortable getting some sort of like authority for decision-making is to then come back to you. So effectively for a time, you're still doing the job that you have this person that's sort of in place to do that job. So I like how you are positioning that as how do I empower this person, but also make sure that there aren't blind spots in the early going that set you both up for failure or for added work that's unnecessary, and rework really is, I guess, what I'm getting at there. So maybe speak to that before we wrap up. Like, how do you walk that delicate line of please come to me, but at the same time, like, I only have so much bandwidth. That's why I hired you.
Right. Exactly. And I think it comes down to, again, I really want to create a tool that helps that person be successful, right? And having the information literally documented, like an SOP, if you will, but of who do you go to? What are all the logins you're going to need? When is it right to ask me the question? When is it okay for you to go directly to the CFO and have a conversation? Because I don't want to have to always be the go-between. And for my kind of in my brain, I feel like after 30 days, they should be able to make decisions, quite honestly, without fear, even if it's maybe not 100% the right decision. They can still make it, learn from it, and grow from it. So that 30-day window for me is about as long as I would expect that person to feel like maybe they have to ask and clarify. And beyond that, I want them to hit the ground running.
Go. And a lot of the learning is in figuring that out, right? Because when you say not the best decision, sometimes not the best decision has a lot more to do with how things are communicated internally and not necessarily the decision itself, right? Or not understanding a nuance. So they almost have to learn how to navigate those relationships when maybe that decision does have a little bit of blowback. It's also an opportunity to foster a positive relationship is my point, and to get clarity.
100%.
And so, it's better than that person not being able to get a response because there's an open position and somebody can't attend at that level of granularity, right? So as long as it's positioned that they're a resource, even if they don't know everything that they need to know day one, I think that helps probably quite a lot. Suzi, another great video. I know this one was quick hitting, but I absolutely love it. And we're having relevant conversations for what's going on in everybody's day to day, from back when we talked about back orders and the impact of, making sure we're emergency prepared and Here's emergency right now. And then all the
There you
way
go.
up to what you have going on next week. I think it's great to just really talk about what's actually happening in the day-to-day on these videos. So thanks so much for coming on once again.
You are so welcome. We'll talk again soon.
All right, everybody, make sure you find us on the Power Supply YouTube channel. Follow Suzi on TikTok. Lots of helpful videos. Definitely like and comment if you're seeing this on LinkedIn. We really appreciate everybody's thoughts and feedback on these videos. So thank you very much. And until next time, Suzi and Justin with Power Supply.